Hey everyone, Gage Ryan here to showcase my updated Kaiju build for you. So, with the continued dominance of turn 1 fields and putting up a bunch of negates, Kaiju just continue to feel like a safe bet going into really any format. But I mean, just for the fact that this deck can take down just about any first turn field that any deck can produce, just creates a mass amount of potential. I think I have a really good version of the deck here for you. So this is pure Kaiju control. And so this is, there's no Yosenju, there's no Invoked, there's nothing like that. So for those that haven't seen a build like this, I'll be sure to explain everything that I feel needs to. So you got 3 Jizukiru. This is your main control guy. I mean, 3300 attack, stops targeting effects, can pop shit. Great card. Yeah, 3 Gamasiel. Gamasiel's great. I mean, if you're able to put this on the field and just negate all your opponent's shit, I mean, you'll just win one turn, basically. It's not always that simple. That's why you play cards like Moon Mirror Shield sometimes, because like this, with Moon Mirror Shield plus counters is game just about every time. But you don't play cards like that in here, and I'll show some of the reasons why. And then triple Radion. So I went down from 12 Kaiju to 9, and honestly, I think it's the correct decision. Doggeron's good, but I just find that you still would get those hands where you're just drawing mass amounts of Kaiju, and so I feel that 9 is what's worked consistency-wise the best for me, and right now that's what I'm sticking with. I also like Radion over Doggeron just for the fact that you play Super Poly, so you can, let's say your opponent has 2 negates, one's a dark, one's a wind, you tribute the wind for this guy and then Super Poly into Starving Venom or something. So a lot of different usage that this card has. So that's it for the Kaiju lineup. Then on to the support cards. You got 3 Luna. I love this card. Card is amazing. Summon it, search another copy, bounce the Kaiju, double Kaiju, just all sorts of fun stuff you can do with this card. I also like where you can do fun plays where, let's say you open multiple Luna and then you can go Nadir Servant for the Tri-Brigade guy, put back the Luna, summon the Luna, search it again. So you got 2 Ecclesia, just 2. Card is fantastic though. I mean, especially if your opponent has an extra deck monster on the field, then you just laugh at them. So, great card. 1 Border. Yeah, just 1 right now. Just for the fact that you never really want to have 2 in your hand. I mean, especially in game 1. But I mean, in game 2 and 3, you have that. You run the risk of your opponent making you go first, and so you side according to that. But just for game 1, I like having the 1 Inspect Border. I think it works perfectly, actually. And to go along with the singles, if you will, the 1 Fossil Dyna. Yes, believe it or not, I would play this card. This card's very good. I mean, obviously it's a Vanity's Emptiness-like effect, but the protection that it provides you is a little like Vanity's too, because you're going to Kaiju your opponent, put a Kaiju on your field, then normal summon the Dyna. And so that way it pokes for an extra 1200, which can be relevant, but it's also just for the fact that, if they have Dark Hole or Regeki, your monster's gone anyway, and so this card basically just says, neither player gets special summon, but I've already done all the special summoning I need to, so you're the one that actually has to deal with it. Pancratops. I don't care what anyone says, this card's just fantastic. I'll always play this card. I play it in my Gravekeepers even sometimes. I mean, it's just too good. And last, the monster's 1 Ash. Just for space, you always want to keep this deck at 40 just for consistency reasons. And so right now it's 1. I mean, really, anytime that I get an extra deck slot in this deck, one of the first things I think of is putting in another Ash. It's so good against fusion spells and things like that, but just 1 for now. So for monsters, spells, you got 3 Waterfront, very good field spell. Plays a little mind game with your opponent sometimes, where if they don't destroy this right away, they're going to be worrying about it. They try to use other effects to get rid of this, or they try to destroy this right away, and then there can be only 1 face down, and I mean, that's way worse than this. Got 3 Slumber, card's amazing, staple. 3 Nadir Servant, yeah. I don't know why you brought this card back to 3 Konami, but I appreciate it, because it's fantastic in Kaiju. I mean, anything that is good on its own is going to be good in a Kaiju deck, but anything that gives you 2 different effects to work with in the same card is broken. So I love this card. It's pretty much staple in Kaiju. I mean, the Dogmatica engine added so much versatility. It really did. It upped the deck an entire tier, in my opinion. So then you got triple Super Poly. Like I said, you can kind of force the plays with Radion and whatnot, but just in general, I love Super Poly. It's a going second deck, and I mean, even if it wasn't a going second deck necessarily, Super Poly is just amazing in general. Triple Extrav, these should be Prosperities, I just don't have them right now. And then Terraforming, get your field spells. Super spells onto the traps. You play a whopping 6 of them. I know, right? A lot of people like to play, when they play Control Kaiju, they like to have a pretty big trap lineup, but I just don't really think it's all that necessary. I just, like, you can, but you struggle with consistency sometimes. You have these hands where you just draw Kaiju and trap cards, and you just kind of have to hope that your one, like, Jizukuru you put on your field lives or something. Like, it's just, it makes the deck less versatile, and so, like I said, versatility is a big part of this deck. So onto the traps, you got Triple Punishment. Card is fantastic. I don't care what anyone says. Card did so much for Kaiju. It makes the Gamasiel plays on your field a lot more consistent, so they can keep removing and negating and all sorts of fun stuff. And I mean, you know, being able to throw Ash Dragon or Natis or Tri-Brigade guy or whatever have you into the graveyard so you can use other effects is just awesome. And then Triple There Can Be. Card's very unfair. Card feels like it was made specifically for Kaiju. Even if this doesn't lock down their entire deck necessarily, a lot of times this will force your opponent to play left-handed. So then if they're forced to play left-handed and you keep tributing all their stuff with Kaiju, it's a very tough spot to be in. Especially if you have a card like, you know, Border or something on top of it. So that's it for the main. I'll show you the side right now. It's pretty linear, I guess. I would say that I'm probably going to find space for a side blocker. I just don't have them on me right now. So the side I do have on me is 2 borders. Like I said, they make you go first. You side in your borders along with other stuff, and you laugh at them. You summon a border turn 1 and like play a There Can Be, and they're like, "Am I playing against Kaiju?" And like, well, he made me go first. I got to do what I got to do, right? So. Second Ash, reason I mentioned before, good with fusions and all that fun shit. Triple Dark Roller, these can be droplets, but I actually find that it doesn't really matter all that much. Like, I thought that this would make a huge difference, but no, not really. It's just a matter of stopping whatever's going to disrupt your plays before you can get your field set up, because once you set up, it's pretty much impossible for your opponent to get all that advantage back, just for the fact they put so many resources into that turn 1 field. 2 Cosmics. Specifically, like, I only gonna side 1 in against most decks, but you always want to have the second one just for Mystic Mine and shit like that. I'm gonna find room for Feather Duster in here, but we'll see. Just gotta get one first. 2 Necro Valleys, yes, believe it or not. It's just, this deck doesn't really use the graveyard outside of Slumber and things like that. And I mean, while it'll hinder you, it'll absolutely destroy your opponent. I mean, people will say, well, why would you want this? Like, if your opponent, like if you have a field spell with a bunch of counters on it and then you draw Necro Valley, it's like, why would you want this? And it's like, well, because if you play this, like, if you're siding this in, it's going to be against decks that are completely graveyard reliant, where they cannot operate under this card. And so then if you have Necro Valley out against X deck or whatever, it really doesn't matter anyway. Like, I would give up, like, having a Jizukuru with counters to have a Necro Valley and a Jizukuru together. So then 1 Skill Drain. It should be 3. I don't have the other 2 yet, so to supplement those, I have my 2 Anti-Spell Fragrances in here right now. These aren't bad either. I love Anti-Spell Fragrance. The card's very good. Very unfair, too, because games end on turn 2, turn 3 so often that this card just basically feels like a Naturia Beast sometimes. Card's very unfair, and I love it. Like, that's the weird thing about Anti-Spell Fragrance in particular, though, is, like, this card is fair, theoretically. It's just not fair in the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right now, if that makes sense. And then close it out, you got 2 Solemns. Again, they make you go first. You know, I love when people say, like, oh, Kaiju can't play first. And it's like, well, if you look at a lot of deck lists on YouTube that are just Kaiju and nothing else, sure. But I love whenever I play against people and they make me go first, because this is just a pretty basic side that you can have whenever you go first. And I mean, you take into consideration Fairy Tale Lunas, the other border you have, Fossil Dyna, and all these other cards, on top of Dogmatic of Punishment, Ecclesia, Nadir Servant, the Field Spell. Like, you can set up a very good turn 1 field even if you can't directly use Kaiju monsters to do it. So that's about it for the deck. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, please find room for Side Blocker in your side deck. It's very, very important for Kaiju. So that's about it. I really hope you enjoyed it. If there's any suggestions or anything you change, be sure to leave a comment, and I'll see you soon.